Hi, welcome to today's video and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be answering this topic, 3 reasons why you should retire right now, or at least consider changing the day when you were going to retire a lot sooner than you had planned. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons, compelling reasons why you should. Now, today's video is something I've wanted to talk about for a long time because I spent a lot of time talking with you all about retirement, getting retirement plans done, how to invest your money, how to grow your investments large enough that you're not going to run out of money throughout your retirement. But today's video is about the human factor of retirement. This is equally important for us to think about this, and I hope you do take a moment to just reflect on this. Now, this is a topic that might make you uncomfortable. I'm going to say it right out of the gate because we're going to be talking about time and your mortality. And this is, for some people, something you don't want to face. But I think you ought to. I think you ought to take a moment just to reshape and reframe what's most invaluable to you, what is the most valuable resource to you, and then to reconsider what retirement's going to look like and how you're going to get on with it. So today, without further ado, let's get into why you're here. Do you remember when you were much younger and, well, you had lots of time on your hands, right? You were in university, college maybe, lots of time sleeping in, eating whatever you want, whenever you wanted to, and life was pretty easy. Your health was, we all thought we'd live forever, and we had very little money to go about it. But those were days you look back and fondly and remember how much fun that was. But now as life has progressed, you have more money, and you're probably asking yourself, are we close? Do we have enough money to retire? That's why you're asking me to do financial plans to help you to answer that question. But one of the things that you've lost, and that is time and your health. You're not the same person you were health-wise. And I don't mean you may be in poor health, but let's face it, when you're in your 50s, you have less stamina, less energy. Your body kind of creaks and cracks a little bit when we get up from a chair and walk a little. And so that's what I mean by your health. You may be relatively healthy, but what this is really saying is the trajectory of our life is that our health is going to become diminished over our lifetime. And that's a valuable resource, these 2 things that are being taken away from us, our time and our health. And not all the money in the world is going to take back and replace those 2 valuable resources. So why am I asking you to reconsider retiring sooner if you can? Is because time is so precious to us right now. It is extremely expensive to be doing or considering doing anything else but the things you wanted to do in your lifetime that was going to, while you were working and saving up all this money to begin with, those big bucket list things. So let's get into the number 1. It's not the number 1, but it's time. This is the first reason. Time has just evaporated. It feels like it's gone by so quickly. And so when we're doing financial plans, we're having to figure out time. So we're looking at what are the probability of you making it to age 90. And we'll say to you things like, well, what age do you plan on retiring? There's some considerations as to why you're choosing that age. And then we say, until what age are we going to plan for? Because we don't want to make sure, or we want to make sure you're not going to run out of money before you retire. So we're choosing an age that is a few years beyond what you consider to be your own mortality. Well, let's look at this illustration together. If you're 50 today, you have a 24% chance of living 20 to 29 years and a 35% chance of living 30 to 39 years. So we can all agree that it looks like if we're 50, we should be reaching at least age 80, right? In fact, what I want to do now is show you a visual representation of your life. And we're going to do that by using these sun images. And each one of those suns represents 1 year of your life beginning at age 50. And this is going all the way out to age 89. Now, if we look at Statistics Canada, for a 50-year-old, it's saying that we're going to expect to live about 34 years into retirement. So if we go back to this visualization, you can see that if we're going to be, say, age 84, so we need to subtract 6 years or 5 years from this. And then we're looking at, well, how many suns do we have left? And so now time has just been taken away from you. what we were saying in the beginning, how easily I gave you 90 years and how easily it was just taken from you. That is life. That's how life works for some of us. Now, some of you will live beyond age 90, and many of us probably won't. But with the advancement of medicines and technologies, we have a good shot of getting to that age. But let's try to stick with the rationale behind all this. And I think you're going to find this very compelling. If you think about subtracting the years that you've already lived past age 50, now there are fewer years for you to begin your retirement and enjoy the things you wanted to do. Now, when you think about your parents are, if you're in your 50s, your parents are in their late 70s, maybe even 80s. And the time that they have available, well, they've already lived those years, haven't they? And so the relationships that you have with not just yourself and your spouse, but with your parents is extremely valuable. There's a lot less time for you to spend with them. Now think about the interactions with your parents. If your parents are living away from you and you've got to drive many, many hours to get to see them, well, that means if you're still working, you're going to have to either take some time off or schedule those weekends and travel to see them, which means you get a couple of days every time you see them. And if you do that 3, 4, 5 times a year, you can see now we're not counting years, we're counting days that you have available with your parents now. Extremely valuable time. Now think about the relationship of your children with their grandparents. They share the same calendar that you do in many cases, and they also have only days left to soak up all of their energy, their life experiences, those precious moments. You know, when I reflect back on my grandmother, I have fond memories of my grandmother, and I wish I had just a few more days with her, years in fact, because of that. And to even have my son, if she was to live that old, for him to have that relationship with her as well. So that's why this is so important. The decision you make to work a few more years is cutting into such valuable time for you. And I wanted to be able to bring that forward so you can reflect on that. The time with your children, I'm just clobbering you with some really hard things to look at, but I have 3 kids, and they've 2 of them have already left the coop, so to speak, and we have 1 in university. And the time that we've spent with our children is about 90% of the time we're going to spend with our kids, because they've already left, they've got their own careers, they've got the things that they're going to get excited about and the time that they have available to them, and that cuts into the time I can spend with them and probably the time you can spend with your kids. And you think about when your children come to visit with you, maybe for dinner on the weekend or something, and it's maybe once every 2 weeks. You look forward to those moments when they're coming over, right? You can't wait. At least for me, I'm just excited to have some time with them. And of course, there's just not enough time, and I wish there was more time to spend with them. But you can see the precious time that you have available with your kids are also part of what your job and your career is stealing you away from right now as well. When I think about my parents and you think about your parents and with their age now, we're talking about most of the time has already gone by, and now how much time is left? It's very little. And when you have very little of something that you desperately want more of, it becomes extremely valuable resource. So I would encourage you, if you can retire sooner, and this is the key, and we're going to get into that in the 3rd reason, is to figure out, can you retire sooner? Okay, number 2, you're losing the best years of your life. Okay, so what do we mean by that? Going back to your life expectancy, and here are the sons, and we've taken out the life expectancy that we're all faced with, and let's move forward. Let's add or subtract, however you want to do, your age today and when you're planning on retiring, and you can see that the average retirement age is 63 in Canada. So if you're planning to work to age 63, and then you'll notice the 2 X's at the bottom of the page, that represents when someone is ill previous, just before they pass away, right? Something is causing them to become ill and then they pass away. So that period of time, you're very inactive, you can't travel, it's unlikely you're going to go out of the country. And so that is a period of time where it's being taken away from you. Time is, again, being taken away from you, and you have fewer of those years in front of you to enjoy what you wanted to do with your spouse if you're married, to actually go out and, check off those bucket lists, do the traveling, whatever it is you're going to do, get involved with the community, golf, garden, spend more time with your kids and your grandkids. There are fewer and fewer years because you're choosing to work to a certain age. And part of, I would challenge you, of this age that you're thinking of retiring, what is the reason behind your choosing age 63 or whatever age that is? Is it because your pension benefits are paying out at a certain age? Is it because you just don't feel confident that you've got enough money to retire? Are you waiting for a spouse to catch up because you're a few years older than that spouse? I mean, there's some good considerations, but remember, they come at a cost, and that is the amount of time you're going to be able to spend together in retirement. Okay, now, one thing that I haven't illustrated, but I'm going to do right now, and that is all of those yellow suns represent the combined age of male and female, when in fact, statistically, men pass 3 to 4 years sooner than women. So you think about it as a couple, and you're thinking about the time you have together. Let's subtract out that, and now you actually have those years in front of you, and they've just been taken away. And so that's time that one spouse doesn't get with the other spouse because of longevity statistics. So again, really compelling reason why, if you really need to work, that's one thing, but if not, let's get out of work sooner so you can actually enjoy those precious years that are in front of you. Okay, and number 3, the last one. Well, you're probably better off than you think you are. You actually have enough to retire, and the only way to find that out is getting a financial plan done. It's seeing the outcome of your planning decisions before you actually do them. I'm so committed to making sure that everybody that I see that are in, above 50 have financial plans. It's so vitally important. When I see the reaction that people have when they finally realize they're going to have enough money, and they see their withdrawal schedules, and they see the amount of taxes they're saving, man, I think they wish they had done a financial plan a lot sooner so they could maybe advance their retirement. So one of the things that I want you to pay attention to here is about this idea that maybe you think you don't have enough money. Well, if you're a couple and you've got reasonable amount of time in CPP and old age security, the combined income off of CPP, this is pre-tax of course, is close to $39,000 for a couple today. If a couple age 65 needs $75,000 or wants $75,000 of annual income to spend, then you can see they're going to need an additional about $36,000 of income. So where does that income come from? Well, it comes from either maybe rental income or your savings, RSPs, TFSAs, and non-registered accounts. So how much money would you need to save in order to generate $3,000 per month? Well, there it is in front of you. At the bottom of the page, it says $750,000 at 6% with inflation at 2% and your tax rate at about 40% will get you $3,000 a month, and it'll last 25 years. So that's that idea that this money's got to last all the way out to your retirement age. Well, that would give you some consideration about where you are today, how much money do you have saved. Now, if you are or think you're going to be very close to that 750 number, and you needed $75,000, well then you're very close to being able to retire. So the question would be, do you need to work 3 or 4 more years if you're already at that level? So I would encourage you to get a financial plan done, or a retirement plan, it's the same thing, to answer that big question so that you can gain back time and begin doing the things you always wanted to do, because life is short. Our time is so precious and valuable to us. And I want you to get into retirement and get excited about your life and your retirement years and try to gain back some of that time. Well, I hope today was not too much and too heavy. I know it was a difficult subject, but it's something I've always wanted to talk to you about. Remember that we take care of your wealth management so that you can take care of what's most important to you. I enjoyed seeing you on today's video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, and be well.